Let's see. That's made me look a little bit better. There we go. Hello, how are you all, everyone? Do check in and say hello. Habitat Gardening is basically talking about gardening, and today I wanted to talk about the issue that can crop up in some locations, especially I find, especially if you only have sort of one or two really popular and favorable plants that, let's be honest about it, probably usually um, nectar eating uh, birds, they dominate those plants. And there's a couple in my region, in my area, that um, get get this treatment. There is a family of, or I presume it's a family. There's a group of little wattle birds around the corner that fiercely guard a uh, large Banksia integrifolia in the front yard on a corner block, just around the corner, and directly over the footpath. So this front yard is a good sort of effort uh, at a bird friendly garden. G'day, Glenn. How are things over in Mount Annan this morning? We've just got some light rain falling here in Wurundjeri country in the south. In the northwestern suburbs of Melbourne in Australia. Um, so there's this large Banksia integrifolia, the coastal Banksia, and across the footpath on the nature strip, there is a uh, Callistemon citrinus, and next to that is a Hakea lorena. So there are three um, very nectar heavy, very valuable resources for nectar feeding birds within. I mean, this from the center of the Banksia integrifolia to the center of the Hakea is probably no more than 9 meters, and the Callistemon is closer to the center of the. Or maybe it's about 10 meters. Yeah, and then the Callistemon is a bit closer than that. In this yard, there is also a grafted dwarf form of Eucalyptus ficifolia, the red flowering gum, and it's one of the sort of carmine kind of uh, flower versions, and there's a couple of kangaroo paws. So over the course of the year, there's a lot of nectar available just in this really small patch, and the little wattle birds guard it fiercely. So nobody else really gets to go. Even the rainbow lorikeets get driven away, and as you may know, if you have rainbow lorikeets visiting you, they can be very pugnacious and rambunctious in a group. Um, the the little honey eaters come in and use the bird bath in that garden, from what I've seen. Mostly yellow. Um, what am I saying? Mostly New Holland honey eaters and mostly white plumed honey eaters. But the red wattlebirds hardly ever get a go, and neither do the noisy miners. I've seen magpies using the bird bath, and I've seen the sulphur crested cockatoos getting in and using the bird bath. But the little wattlebirds don't like any of their competition really getting in there. Odin Howard, good morning. Nice to see you in here again. Bass Coast, nice, cool, wet day. Yes, it's certainly cool up here in Melbourne too. Not wet yet, but moist. We have got some rain going on, but I wouldn't call it a wet day yet. So that's cool. I quite like the way that shifts when I put that up. That's very good. Uh, who else is here? Betty, are you here today? Uh, Naomi, if you're here, give us a shout out. Um, saw some saw some good comments. I got an email. Got an email. I don't know how someone hunted down um, uh, this particular email address. They must have taken a guess that it was the right one. Anyway, I got an email about habitat gardening, and this person uh, said I shouldn't be the bird nerd for habitat gardening. I should be the groovy gardener. I just sent them back a reply saying, I'm not too sure if groovy is the right word, and I'm not too sure that I have ever fitted the moniker of groovy. But nice sentiment anyway. It's nice. It's nice when people let you know that they like what you're doing. Okay, feedback, folks. Oh, good on you, Glenn. I was going to ask. Bright and sunny day in Western Sydney near Mount Annan. Headed for 30 degrees. Decent rain overnight. Glenn, since you're out there in the garden, are there any spots in the Botanic Gardens? And I encourage you, if you are in Sydney or will be visiting Sydney, take the time, get out to the Mount Annan Botanical Gardens, which is, is it correctly called an annex of the Australian National Botanic Gardens? I don't know. But Glenn, let us know, are there any spaces or particular plants that you have noticed in the Botanic Gardens at Mount Annan, or indeed in your own garden? Because if you're not already aware, Glenn's got a fantastic habitat garden at his own place. Are there any spots that the bullybirds have uh, have taken ownership of? I've got some more examples to speak about, but let's see if anyone's uh, can give their own examples, and we can kick those around. Odin, how about at your place? Have you got a plant or a part of the garden that a group of birds or a particular bird dominate? I've seen it down the street in the urban setting, um, where little ravens have staked out their little productive plot, and they don't like anyone else being there. Um, so yeah, give us your example. Now, directly across the road from me, there is a park. I reference it often, and probably the closest part of the park, the closest point when I open the front door, is a beautiful Eucalyptus leucoxylon, pink flowered variety, and uh, right near that is a lemon yellow flowered Eucalyptus leucoxylon. And when they are in flower, the red wattlebirds set up the exclusion zone. And the only birds that seem to be able to get through that exclusion zone are rainbow lorikeets when they are en masse. And my anecdotal observations are that the lorikeets will set up in one portion of the tree and start harvesting there, and the red wattlebirds will tolerate them. Uh, the noisy miners don't get a look in. The noisy miners, funny around here, the noisy miners are banished to the fringes of the park. Um, and occasionally, if the red wattlebirds are on patrol, because They do. They sort of patrol the boundary of their territory in the park, and when they're off on patrol, and only one or two of them is left near the near the eucalyptus, the both the New Holland honeyeaters and the white plumed honeyeaters come in, but they will drive off noisy miners. It's really interesting to watch. Glenn says, my yard little wattle birds have taken control at times, and at the Botanic Gardens, the bell miners have two locations that they've taken ownership of. Yeah, bell miners are a really interesting um, case in point. I mean, bell miners are honey eaters, and uh, they are a bird that forms colonies, and yeah, they definitely mark out a territory. Um, and often, I think this is going from memory, but that they're really protecting the lerp scale. They they feed heavily on the lerp scale, uh, so they're protecting those um, leaf insects. So uh, now let's see, Odin. Where are we? I like this name, Odin. The Nectar Mafia. Yeah. So you've got the Callistemon viminalis um, and Banksia integrifolia. Um, Similar situation to what is I described happening around the block from my place, where the little wattle birds have taken over, rainbow lorikeets and noisy miners. Odin, do you have red wattle birds in attendance in your garden, or are the little wattle birds the kings, the monarchs of the glen, so to speak? And Glenn clarifying for us. Thank you, Glenn. Mount Annan Gardens are one of the three city gardens under the trust. Royal, Mount Tomah, and Mount Anna are the three, not part of the National Botanic Gardens. Okay, the Australian Botanic Gardens are um, uh, the only native gardens of the three linked. Okay, so um, there we are. I didn't know that there was a difference. Um, there we go. There we are. Glenn says, "Oh, this is a good get, Glenn. You've got the swift parrots up there. The bell miners are also where the swift parrots came in for the lerps. Yeah, the swift parrots hold their own against the bell miners. Um, I don't know a lot about the temperament of swift parrots. I wonder if they're as rambunctious as the lorikeets. I mean, swift parrots are not lorikeets, but they are very lorikeet like. So I wonder if they've got that same aggressive and nippy demeanour. Hmm. Oh, and if anyone's interested, Loz is doing well. Um, I had him out early this morning. Opened up the cage and let him have free range of the house, and he preferred to go back mm, into the cage. Um, uh, he's actually becoming very nippy and very bitey when I put the bath in in the cage for him. The only place outside of the cage that he likes to have a bath is when I'm washing the dishes. Now that's not optimal, considering when I'm washing the dishes, there's a lot of soapy detergent. So I don't like to put him in there. So yeah, Odin tells us he does get the red wattlebirds come through, but not as common as they used to be since the miners moved in. So the miners are new, are they? They're well, yeah, I suppose. Um, I used to hear it. I used to hear um, bell miners or the bellbird in places like Nyora and whatnot in South Gippsland, but I can't recall ever really hearing them uh, near the coast. I know that when I was a kid, we had family friends who lived not too far from Leongatha, and I know when we were driving to their place, we went through a couple of gullies that were sort of really wet sclerophyll forest. You would hear the tinkling of the bellbirds or the bell miners in there, but I'm not really sure that I've ever heard of them really that close to the coast. Oh, let me say hello to Twitch. I like the Twitch lurkers. Uh, Twitch lurkers, if you're the person who gave my post on Blue Sky regarding Twitch a bit of love, let me know. Be nice to know that you were there and now you're here. I get excited when people pay attention to the fact I'm on Twitch. Beg your pardon. Getting my coffee in. Yeah, okay. Magpie larks can also become bully boys in certain parts of the garden. Have you noticed um, any other birds becoming bully birds? Oh, willy wagtails often have that tendency as well. Odin telling us the population of miners has increased in the last 5 years or so. Now we could speculate about what the reason for that is. I think my obvious speculation would be that because of the increase in population and the development of housing, and not necessarily suburbs, but the 5 or 10 acre bush blocks uh, on the fringes of, well, on the edge of the sort of coastal zones, coastal towns, that's probably pushing uh, those colonies, if they're still increasing, and I imagine they probably are, they're probably um, encroaching uh, into the townships. So yeah. Morning, Stan, Kangaroo Island TV. Do make sure if you're on YouTube that you get over and check out Stan's channel, Kangaroo Island TV. Wattlebirds are bullies, Stan says. Yes, indeedy. Stan, which wattlebirds do you have? Oh, and also being on Kangaroo Island, do you have any of the other honey eaters that become bullies around the town that you've noticed? Be interested in that. And Stan, of course, is referencing the squad, the Riot Squad, the regular contributors and chatters on all the bird emergency shows. Uh, okay, so I've outlined a bit of a problem. Oh, hang on, I'm looking. This might be some feedback coming through on the mobile on one of the apps. Let's see if it's. No, it's not. It's just someone saying something nice that they like the show. Not the habitat gardening, particularly talking about bird emergency. It's always nice. Feel free to give us nice feedback because I get plenty of shit feedback. So it's always good to get the tables turned a bit. Uh, uh, all right, sorry, this is very unprofessional, isn't it? Responding to something while I should be talking to you. Um, Yeah, Stan, I'm really interested to know if you have any other honey eaters that sort of team up and try and defend a little patch. Um, Now we've talked about Banksias. I've talked specifically about Banksia integrifolia, um, Callistemon citrinus, and Hakea lorena. Odin, the I'm looking at you now. What are the plants that the bully birds uh, try and peg out? I can I can tell you the magpies in the park around here. They they defend the the grassed areas, but not the whole area. There's a fringe area, and it's an area that gets a little bit wetter. It's a little bit low lying. It doesn't really flood, but it is a little bit moister. So I'm guessing that's where all the cockchafer larvae are, and they really, really, really uh, defend that patch of ground. And who do they defend it against? You might be surprised. I'll leave that hanging for a moment. You can have a guess. I'll tell you in a second. Who do the magpies defend the ground against? I'll let you know. Stan says red wattlebirds. We don't get any other honey eaters in town. I'd have to have a look at the bird book 100%. Actually, that reminds me. I've got my bird book just here. I'm just going to have a look and see if the spiny-cheeked honeyeater is in your neck of the woods. Yeah, I would have thought probably. Yeah, that would be one that I would think you might have. Oh, I'll just while people are here, I'm going to tease. I am going to be giving away a bunch of the books that I have accumulated in the last few years. Let me show you them now. This is one I really enjoyed reading. Low carbon birding. Funnily enough, I reached out a number of times to get an interview with the editor. This is sort of a group of essays and experiences about bird watching in a low carbon kind of way. And the publishers wanted to organise the interview, and the editor never responded to either the publisher or me about doing it. They weren't really interested. This is one of my favourite books, but I am going to make it available. The Urban Field Naturalist Project, a guide to the creatures in your neighbourhood. I talked about this a couple of times on the show. I really like it. This would be for those of you in Sydney and Brisbane and other places to the north. Amazing Annoying Birds, Living with Australian Brush Turkeys by Anne Goat, which is a fun book. And this is one I really like. Flight Paths, which is Rebecca Heisman. I did interview Rebecca on the show. I was under the weather when I interviewed her, and I don't think I did my best work. But this is a treatise, sort of case studies on scientists that have been studying bird migration and some of the mysteries that have been unlocked. Really great book. So I'm going to be giving those away, as well as Ricky Coughlin has generously allocated one of her books, Little Brown Birds of the Sydney region. So they will be being given away. I haven't worked out exactly how. I was thinking that we might do a trivia show, a bird trivia show, where maybe every other or every third round, the winner of that round wins one of the books. I'm not sure. I might just do a draw. I can just do like a spin a wheel, or do the random number generator or something, and allocate it. But I'm going to give stuff away to members. So if you are not a member, head over to thebirdemergency.com/coffee and become a member. Buy me a coffee. That's the best way. Anyway, wasting gardening time talking about that. And just while you're here, I want to let you know that that's coming up. All right. Anyone want to have a guess on who the Australian Magpies keep out of the best part of the open ground in the park? I'll give you a minute or two to think about it, and then I will let you know. Tick 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 tick. Come on, one of them is very not obvious. One of them would be a little bit obvious, but actually, there's three. There are three species that I have seen the magpies aggressively chase out of the park. All right, here we go. The guesses are coming in. Stan says starlings. No. Funnily enough, the starlings are not very often in the park. Corellas. No. The corellas do sometimes come in and rip up the roots of the cooch grass and I guess kikuyu as well in that section of the park. But no, they're not the ones that attract the ire of the magpies. Oh, g'day, Chris. Haven't seen you for a while. Good morning, Chris Coburn. The chuffs are the birds the magpies chase away. I'm guessing that's what you're saying, Chris. That you're having a guess at the chuffs, or a chuffs bully boys up there. That let us know. That's the white-winged chuff in Australia. One of the funniest birds to watch that when their groups are around. I like chuffs. So starlings, corellas, chuffs, all not the birds that the magpies bully, deny the feeding opportunity in the grassy open spaces of my local park. Who have we got this time? Give us a clue. Well, I kind of did give you a clue because I did say that it's the area of the park where I think, because it's the moister bit and most of the park is a bit clayey, so it's where I believe that the cockchafer, the grubs, would be most prevalent and certainly most fat and juicy and luscious. So sparrows. No. I'll give you a clue. They're bigger birds, much bigger birds than sparrow. And Chris is telling us the magpies chase the chuffs back into the bush. Okay, I get that. Ding, 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 ding. We have a winner for one. Yes, the magpies, if we get one or two ibis come in, and it's not only white ibis, it's also straw-necked ibis, but generally the Australian white ibis, when they come in, they get bombarded by the magpies and they generally give up and go away. But when there are lots of, here we go. So now they're coming in. Stan's got the ibis. Glenn's got the ibis. Herons, no. So no, not the herons. But there are some others. I'll let you in on the others. The masked lapwing or the spurwing plovers. Now they used to patrol the park. There was a pair, and they successfully raised offspring a few years in a row. I think I told you that we had a um, the male magpie of the previous group around here, and when the magpies nested actually right next to the park, the the male magpie died. I found him a few years ago. It's probably 3 years ago now. Um, on the front lawn a of a house across the park. Now, since that male was supplanted and the dynamics of that little group changed and they started nesting further away, uh, they uh, they have been completely intolerant of the masked lapwing uh, in the park. So yeah, um, I just started hanging out in my neighbour's on my neighbour's shed roof. Twig, my dog, chases them if they fly down. I miss the real bin chicken on Threads. Oh, what happened to the real bin chicken on Threads? Um, Shout out to Twig too, by the way. Good on him doing dog things. Um, Now the other birds that the uh, magpies just won't have a bar of in the grassy areas of the park, except right on the fringes of some of the garden beds, are the noisy miners. They they chase them out a lot. Ah, okay. Stan's not on Threads anymore. Um, can we have that discussion, Stan? Did you ditch everything of Meta? I'm still uh, tossing that up. Did you did you do that? Um, um, I had an interesting conversation with Ricky about um, social media. Gee, it's really really difficult to uh, uh, yeah, it's really 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 difficult to justify being on some of the platforms, isn't it? Um, Sorry, folks, just getting a little bit more feedback. Someone is lurking and doesn't want to be in the chat. So there we are. Fair enough too. So how do you deal with with bully birds? And we got two really distinct situations that I've brought up really now. There is the dominating of a broader area with birds like the magpies. Now, Chris mentioned that they chase the choughs out and banish them back to the bush. Um, and in my instance, it's the areas where the cockchafers are. I believe I haven't gone out and dug it up, but it's certainly the areas where the ibis come in and attempt to feed. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure that there is a solution to that situation with the magpies because it's unless you can interrupt their flight path, because the weapon for the magpies is their swift, direct, swooping flight, where they really do threaten uh, not only birds but uh, people and dogs and all sorts of other animals. So, short of erecting uh, obstacles, I'm not sure there's a way to deal effectively with the magpie kind of aggression. I just think we have to live with that. But when it comes to the wattlebird type of aggression, and lots of the honey eaters in groups will mob other birds or aggressively chase off competitors. I think there is a couple of ways in a gardening situation where you can ameliorate it. I don't think you can end it, but I think you can ameliorate it. So, would anyone like to see if we've got some ideas there? Um, so, Stan says stop posting on Facebook, IG, and Threads. Yeah, I've basically stopped posting unless I on those unless I'm going, hey, we're about to do a live stream. But even that, I'm going to give away. I never really got into Threads at all, so I haven't really built anything up there. Um, Facebook and IG, I mean, if they're letting the bots loose, so can't deal with it. Just Blue Sky and YouTube now. Blue Sky is where I do most of my stuff. I've finally got my archive downloaded and got the computer working properly, so I can. I'm going to nuke the my Twitter account. Uh, well, some people have told me I should just leave the account there with a pinned tweet saying, "Come and see us on Blue Sky and sign up at YouTube." That's one strategy, because then you're not giving Elon any value, and you're not posting and you're not interacting, or you just bloody leave. What do you reckon I should do, folks? I, I had determined I was just going to leave, but I'm wondering whether it's not even more subversive just having one post there saying, "Hi, come somewhere else." I don't know. And Stan with another one. I've trained Twig to chase the currawongs when the New Hollands send out the alarms. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, currawongs are a different kettle of fish, aren't they? Because um, not only are they just um, sort of opportunistic feeders, grazing or just looking um, for arthropods, insects, anything they might find, scraps. Um, they're also going to actively hunt birds, small birds. We haven't talked about any small birds yet, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. Um, and Odin has hit the jackpot. The best way to deal with bully birds, um, there's a couple of strategies. One is to make sure you have enough shelter opportunities for the smaller species that might be the subject of attack. And Odin's got it dead right here. A thick understory with spiky foliage, species with small birds to hide. Now, there is on the YouTube, Facebook, no, not Facebook, on YouTube, uh, we did do I did do a show just on plants for little brown birds, and I was highlighting the a bunch of popular plants that will offer these opportunities, but um, there's a number of spiky wattles. I mean, Acacia ulicifolia and Hakea sericea. There's many like that. So that's the first strategy. And Stan's got another comment which is a bit like that. Stan's been meaning to delete Twitter. I haven't posted for years. Yeah, I think I'm just going to take once my archive. Oh, there is this fantastic um, program or if you go to Hello Quit X, I'll do a live stream particularly specifically on this to show you how to do it. But you can get all of your Twitter content into Blue Sky easily, and it also hooks you up with as many of the contacts that can be identified, any of the interactions that you've had on Twitter with people who have moved over to Blue Sky, so you don't lose all of those contacts. And you can do the same with Mastodon too if you want to. So yeah, this group of programmers set up this great little thing, which I'll do live how I do it, and then I'll probably just delete all the tweets if possible. However, I can do that in bulk, and just send everyone over to Blue Sky. Now, the Currawongs come raiding for baby birds. Yeah, I saw the goshawk. I think a grey goshawk. Did you have a grey goshawk at your place, Stan? That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Stan says he has a huge privet bush and lots of pittosporums. Pittosporums covered in honeysuckle. Well, the pittosporums, depending on which pittosporum they are, Pittosporum undulatum with the glossy leaves and the orange sort of fruiting capsules, they are native. They're native to eastern Australia, southeastern Australia. Honeysuckle, Lonicera, very useful plant in the garden if you don't have substitutes. Privet, a really good shelter bush. The sparrows love the privet down the street from me, I can tell you that. But the birds use them, yeah. When you don't have something else, very good. The problem with the privet is the way that they fruit, and they're a massive invasive pest in a lot of the country. You can let us know, Stan, if the privet pops up all over the place as well. Privet and camphor laurel have that horrible tendency to become environmental weeds. But yeah, the privet hedge is a fantastic shelter opportunity for sparrows, small honeyeaters, fairy wrens, thornbills. They'll all make use of it if there is nothing else. Yeah. So shelter bushes, shelter plants. Strategy number 1. Strategy number 2, just give more opportunities for feeding. Spread the feeding opportunities around. That means plant a whole lot more plants that the nectar feeding birds can use. Correas and small grevilleas are the obvious ones for smaller birds lower down to the ground. And if you've got the space, put in another flowering eucalypt that flowers at. And this is where you got to be strategic, and where we can really talk about some of the other opportunities. And perhaps I'll do a separate show about that. Perhaps if you've got the nectar mafia, as Odin referred to them, dominating one plant when it's in flower, well, plant another one that flowers at the same time at the other end of the garden or in the front yard rather than the backyard, to give the competitors another feeding opportunity. Plant, if they're dominating a tall plant, plant something that flowers at the same time that is either a medium or a low plant. Plant some ground cover grevilleas or banksias that that will offer a feeding opportunity so that birds with different habits and different preferences can get a look in. Um, so, if you want some suggestions, uh, perhaps you can tell me the situation that you have, and perhaps a forthcoming show, I can do the homework and give you some ideas. But that just to me just seems like two very simple opportunities. Oh wow, coming in droves in YouTube. Hello, um, the people who are just coming in. Uh, Drop in the comments. Tell us where you are watching or listening from, so we can get an idea of the geographic spread. We've got Odin in South Gippsland. Now, Chris, you got to remember you're up on the northern fringes of Melbourne. Uh, Stan's on Kangaroo Island in South Australia. I'm in the northwestern suburbs of Melbourne. Um, have I missed anyone else out? Let us know where you're at. Oh, good. Stan's done the right thing. Looked in the bird book. The hawk could have been a brown goshawk, but probably a collared sparrowhawk, which are much more common, or maybe a black-shouldered kite. Yeah, I would think you'd have a lot of black-shouldered kites out there. Um, Stan, but you've opened up that big can of worms. Are you one of those people who can confidently pick a collared sparrowhawk from a brown goshawk? I'm going to be really impressed if you can tell me, oh, yeah, no worries. Because I need to give a bird a lot of study before I will confidently call which is which. Um, Hello, Naomi. Nice to see you. How are you? How's everything going? Naomi's in the Blue Mountains, and Stan is saying hi. Um, I hope some of you were here for yesterday's show with Ricky Coghlan. Ricky's such a font of knowledge. Uh, I know she's really inspired by the Tim Lowe "Where Song Began" book, and that was a really good discussion, and I'm yeah, it's so much fun talking about all these issues. So yeah, and of course, Ricky has generously agreed to get send out a book to a listener when we organise um, uh, that contest. Naomi says she had a grey goshawk in the backyard last year. I can't tell the difference between the collared sparrowhawk and brown goshawk without photos, and they have to be specific to the feet. Yeah. Um, uh, there we are. They both have yellow eyes and stripes. Brown goshawk is listed as rare, possibly declining. Um, yeah, they're very confusing. I mean, when they're in flight, and especially if they're doing that circling flight looking for victims, rounded tail versus squared off tail is one thing. Then you've got the long spindly legs and the versus the chonky legs with the trousers, and then you've got the brow ridge. Um, and I mean, when I was a kid, I was always told, "Oh, the brown goshawk are bigger," but no, the brown goshawk. If you're looking at two females, yeah, bigger, but a brown goshawk male might be a similar size to a collared sparrowhawk female. Um, so yeah, they're hard, but familiarity, I guess, is your friend when it comes to these things. Um, Naomi, since you missed the start of the show, what we were discussing is bully birds in the garden. Now, in your garden, because you've got some very popular plants with some of your birdie friends, do you have any? Well, two things. Do you have any birds that are bullying other birds in your garden? And do you have any plants that are the object of the bulliers? Like uh, I recounted around the corner, I've got uh, in one place there is a large Banksia integrifolia, closely um, covered, closely. Uh, they have very close by Haekia and um, Callistemon citronus. No, yeah, citronus, yeah, um, and a group of little wattlebirds guard those fiercely. So that's the kind of example we had there. More on the brown goshawk and collared sparrowhawk um, differences. Yes, Naomi, I've seen some stunned looking brown goshawk and super cranky collared sparrowhawk. I reckon any of the Acipta raptors look scary. They all look scary and angry all the time. They always look hungry. Um, Stan says, I once looked over the fence to my house when I just bought it. There was a set of yellow eyes staring up at me. It was a hawk that had just crashed to the ground as it had hunted a bird. Well, that sounds very much like a goshawk to me. Yeah, yeah, very, very common around here to find groups just a peng, pigeon or dove feathers on the ground where I think a goshawk has got into them very quickly. Uh, Sam says it looked at me with great indignation and flew off. Did it flew off with its meal, or had it basically ingested everything it wanted to? Um, I I don't remember what I was reading, but about the feeding habits of goshawks and sparrowhawks, and in good seasons when they uh, don't need to eat every piece of morsel of flesh that they get, is that they just they tear off the head, toss it away, and then they open up the cavity and they eat the organs that they like, and and just leave the rest. Leave the rest for the currawongs and the magpies, I guess. No, missed. Oh, well, that good luck to everything else. Now, Naomi, here's a good one. The Lewins honey eater try to bully the other birds off the bleeding heart tree, but there is lily pilly nearby, and the littler birds hide in there until the Lewins are distracted. Yeah, and that underpins the strategy I just mentioned about having more opportunities at the same time. So feeding and flowering and fruiting opportunities, obviously with lily pilly. Of course, lily pilly or syzygium, acmena, they are a terrific plant if you're in the right zone, and Naomi is. Naomi's in Western Sydney. Um, the Because you get the nectar feeding birds on the flowers, and then you get fruit eating birds on the fruit. And of course, some of the honey eaters are also fruit eating birds. Um, and yeah, Lewins. I don't know a lot about the family dynamics of Lewins, but I think they are in a fairly tight family group. But I'm not sure it would you would call it a colony. It's not as I don't think the territories are as firm as the bell miners. Um, uh, Naomi says the brown cuckoo dove and the wonga and the satin bowerbird ignore the Lewins. Now, I'm sure the wonga and satin bowerbirds do, because basically it's a different trophic level, isn't it? The Lewins are generally operating up here, and the satin bowerbirds are in the sort of that mid story and the ground, and the wongas are basically on the ground. Brown cuckoo doves, I guess they just don't give a stuff. Good on them. Uh, Naomi also tells us that Lewins are great parents. I have a male and female and 2 young at the moment. Terrific. Um, should post some photos of the nest if you can take photos from uh, without disturbing them. That would be good. Oh, Glenn, more raptor talk here. Great day for raptors here today. At the moment, a pair of brown goshawks in the air, an Australian hobby perched, early on a little eagle in the air, and a square-tailed kite in the air. So doing okay for raptors today. Yeah, I saw I'm pretty sure it was female brown goshawk recently. There is a pair of brown goshawks that do stake out this area. Haven't seen the hobbies for a while. Saw a peregrine the other day overhead. I more regularly see wedge-tailed eagles here than little eagles, although I guess it was last autumn, I saw a little eagle um, uh, overhead, very high up, obviously um, covering a lot of ground. Um, Square-tailed kite. I imagine you've probably got kestrels and the black-shouldered kite hanging out in the gardens as well, Glenn. So that's a good get, isn't it? One, two, three, 4 species just in the morning. That's pretty cool. How's Shroom Saturday going, Glenn? Have you found a good fungal specimen to take a shot of? Now let's see. Well, quite a few are here today. That's nice. Now, okay. Now I know who's on Facebook. Betty, did you manage to get in here today? Um, really keen to get to hear from Betty again on how things are going at her property at Goulburn and what she's been planting and what she's been seeing. And it's good to hear Chris's story of the chuffs. I want. Isn't it interesting that the magpies would defend an open sort of human habit area and chase the chuffs back into the bush? The the first thought is, oh well, all the food reserves would be in the bush, but um, it's hard to think back or back to a time where before human habitation. I wonder if Australian magpies were anywhere near as common back then because they need the open space. Um, they need those clearings, don't they? I think even when you see them in the bush, it's usually clear. I'm just trying to think when I've seen them in sort of real dense bushy areas. It's clearings around, sort of billabongs and yeah, any sort of area where the kangaroo are grazing and the wombats are grazing. Um, yeah, anyway, that's just supposition. I don't have any science to back me up on that, but it's probably out there. Um, Naomi, do you have wattle birds in your garden? Because if the Lewins are the bully birds at your place, I'm wondering if that is because there are not red or little wattle birds there. Um, Now, Glenn with more raptor stories. Usually kestrels, black-shouldered kites, brown falcons, of course, um, grey goshawk, white goshawks, the white morph of the grey goshawk, wedge-tails, Pacific barza, all common here in the gardens. Okay, folks, is it barza or bazza? uh, I always think Bazza's got a double Z, but I have been corrected before saying it should be Bazza, but I say Barza. So far, just the 4 today, another hour or so before looking for shrooms. Chris says, so the magpie aggression against the chuffs is what we're talking about. Only happens during the breeding season when the magpies have young and the male magpies are extra aggressive. Yeah, well, that makes sense. Seems odd uh, to be so driven against the chuffs, but I guess the chuffs are looking to exploit those same food reserves, i.e., all the insects, arthropods, cockchafers, etc. Naomi says yes, little wattlebirds, and in the front yard, very occasionally a red wattlebird, but the little wattlebird seems more dominant. What other do you have a group of little wattlebirds? Like, have you got that? The group around the corner from me is 7 or 8 birds that seem to. Um, I have no idea. I've never seen a nest of this group, but I imagine that perhaps there's a pair, and then the rest are helping cooperative breeding situation in there. But yeah, I'd be interested to know, Naomi, if you could give a guess of the size of your little wattlebird family, and do you see red wattlebirds as solo visitors, or are they coming in pairs or a group? It and is there an area nearby where where the red wattlebirds are king? Like for me, it's it would only be a short, very short flight as the wattlebird flies between the park at my place, where the red wattlebirds are the dominant, and then over the back where the little wattlebirds are the monarchs of the glen, where the Banksia integrifolia is. So perhaps it's just a little bit of a détente, you know. Yeah. So yeah. So let's throw it open. Anything you want to talk about, birds or gardens, doesn't have to be about bully birds. Let's just throw it open for a little while, and we will see if there's anything else anyone wants to say. Is anyone doing any gardening today? I've got some propagation tasks to do, and then I'm probably going to do a live stream later on the other channel. If you want me to let you know where the Grants Rants are happening, and where my interviews with people who have got nothing to do with birds and conservation are happening, just let me know, and I will. I'll message. I'll put a message in the chat or something, and you can find that. That would be cool. Naomi says seems to be 4 little wattlebirds and solo red wattlebirds. The red wattlebirds used to rule an area about 500 metres away, but now little wattlebird and noisy monos. Yes, I like that, noisy miners, and grey butcherbird. I guess that typo autocorrect lets us know, Naomi, that you probably have recently searched for the works of Monet. Grey butcherbird. I imagine that the wattlebirds, both red and white, would be chasing grey butcherbirds away for sure. Hi, Betty. Nice to see you today. Betty's on Facebook. Betty, you're going to have to make that move at some stage over to YouTube, too, by the way, because in line with, uh, well, because Meta is going to let Facebook become a bot hell, I will be ceasing streaming, multi streaming out to Facebook at some time. That time isn't yet, but I would encourage you to head over to the Bird Emergency on YouTube or Twitch. You can try Twitch out too, but YouTube's a much more sort of newbie friendly environment than Twitch is for finding your way around. YouTube, everything I've done pretty much is on YouTube, and it stays there. On Twitch, the shows disappear after a certain amount of time, so that's a platform thing. So red wattlebirds one at a time. I did see a nest in the tea trees. Well, that's probably a very good spot. I've seen red wattlebirds nest quite low down, and they do like that dense shelter. The red wattlebirds. Although, funnily enough, at my place, the red wattlebirds nest uh, in the medium-sized eucalypts in quite open situations. But there's a big group of red wattlebirds here, so I guess the protection is a lot greater. I mean, there's one year I counted 27 of them flying around um, in the patrol group as they go around the boundary of the territory. So yeah, red wattlebirds are intriguing to watch. Naomi says, amazingly, the little wattlebird are often seen perched together on the power lines. Yeah, they do. That's what they do around the corner. They sit there on the power lines and they just wait to drive off anything else that comes near their three favourite plants. And bit less frequently, that from what I've seen, um, dominate the bird bath. But they seem a bit less concerned uh, about the bird bath. And Naomi says, and they're sitting there with the grey butcherbird. Yeah, I'm not so surprised with that. I mean, the grey butcherbird isn't really a threat to the little wattlebirds unless the little wattlebirds have got a nearby nest and nestlings or fledglings. Because I mean, they're pretty evenly matched for size and also aggressiveness. Um, so that would be my thought there. Yeah. Also wanted to throw out too, as I was making my list of what our topics should be for the next little while, and I thought, you know, who I should ask what the topics should be if anyone's got anything that they would like me to cover or cover again, uh, would be you lot. So uh, I really think I need to talk about watering in a bit more detail, methods of watering, not just the most effective way to water in terms of what a plant needs, but to just talk about some of the methods like drippers, sprayers, the leaky pipe, drip tube, uh, aerial sprinklers, hand watering. So that's one thing that we'll get to. But are there any other topics that you would like me to discuss? Are there any groups of plants that you would like me to talk about? I can tell you I'm working on blue flowers. I'm going to do a uh, a blue flower episode, and it's probably going to be quite long. Um, so it might be one where you dip in and dip out of, and then go and look at it again on the uh, archive. But I'm going to do blue flowers, and I'm also going to do pea flowers, um, and delve in a bit more about insects, uh, food plants for insects. So there are a couple that I've got uh, on the notepad. Uh, Naomi says even the noisy miner perched with them. The Coel chick was up in the tree, and the wattlebirds would only arc up if the butcherbird went anywhere near it. So that seems to tell me that the wattlebirds were the parents of the Coel chick, um, which would make sense. Um, unwittingly adding to the maintenance of the Coel population. So that shows good parenting skill, doesn't it? Good on them. Good on them. Glenn, good. Blue flowers will be great. Been looking for native blue flowers for the satin bowerbird in the backyard. Okay. Well, Glenn, how I propose to structure that is to, whether it'll be one show or whether it'll be a couple, is there'll be blue flowers, sort of grassy and lily and very low sort of rockery kind of plants, and then blue flowers that are like shrubs and trees, and then also bluish fruits. That's how I intend to deal with that, so that you can start to think about the color palette. That's how we're going to approach that. It's a color palette plus also food stuff kind of show that will be. So yeah, and I've got to remind you, Glenn, too. You need to be making sure you are subscribed on the YouTube. I'm pretty sure you are, but just because uh, I'll be doing one of two things. I'll either be discontinuing streaming on Facebook at all, or I will be starting with Facebook, and then I'll be going, oh, and now's the time of the day when Facebook, unfortunately, you'll be leaving us. Bye. So that's going to be the way that goes. Um, and Glenn says, look, Naomi says, very much looking forward to the insect show. Uh, Naomi says, good question. Aren't blue flowers insect attractors? Something about the color spectrum. Yeah, for some insects, I think that is particularly true. Same, I think, with yellow. Um, similar to the way red works for some birds, those colours are more attractive. I'll try and dive into the science rather than the suppositions a little bit with that. Uh, Odin, thank you. Yeah, yeah, it should be fun. I've done a couple of sort of thematic shows like that before. Um, I've got to be honest, with the issues I've had with the computer and getting the streaming stuff, the software working, the way I like to produce the show, working with what I'm using to multi-stream, uh, has meant that I haven't had the time to prepare like I used to. But I think I've ironed out those kinks, so we're going to get there. That'll be fine. Now, Stan, here's a good one. Let's see if we can solve the mystery. Stan has a vigorous vine plant with profuse blue flowers. Flowers are sticky when they dry out. Okay, Stan, I want to know a couple of things. What are the flowers like? Uh, are they open petaled? Are there, or is it a tube? Um, long stamens? Give us your best description of the flower and what birds or insects are utilizing that vine plant. And lastly, let us know the what are the leaves like. Um, and Glenn says, good, subscribed on the YouTube. Good, everyone should be subscribed on the YouTube. Uh, uh, yeah, Naomi's saying morning glory. Yeah, that is my first thought. Whether it is the what's that? Is that Ipiomema? I can't remember the morning glory, but the morning glory's got a pale mauve to bluish trumpety flower. Um, Glenn, Glenn, Stan. So, and that is sort of in Southeast Australia. That's all the first kind of thought when you've got a rampant bluey, mauvey, flowered creeper that is taking over. But give us your best shot. Tell us, describe the flower, and uh, we'll see whether we can pick it out. Mm. Mm-mm-mm. Okay. Um, yeah. Okay. Um, any other questions or suggestions too? While we've got the uh, uh, got the all right. So it kind of looks like a honeysuckle. All right. Well, let me. And are the flowers true blue? Like are they a bright blue? Now, Odin's come up with the thing. Yeah, I was thinking about Balladiera, Odin, but that's why I want to know whether it is a vigorous vine or whether it is a light creeper. Um, but uh, the bases of the flower are very hairy and stick to the dog. Okay. But are the flowers bright blue or are they light blue? As you can see, I'm just typing into uh, 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 oh, someone else has been searching for that in Australia. Um, yeah, sticky seeds is what um, uh, of what the Balladiera have, but you're saying they have the bases of the flowers are very hairy and stick to the dog. Um, okay, let me see if I can. Um, uh, That's not what I want. I'll get rid of that. Yes. Um, oh, what about Solia heterophylla, which is now Billardiera heterophylla, isn't it? Uh, that will probably be the one. Let me just try Stan and add in a. Oh, I don't know why this is. Sorry, this is one of the issues that um, Glenn's got a good suggestion here. It would seem to me, I think you might be right here, Glenn, because Stan's saying light blue, very pale clusters about 20 flowers, and I think Glenn has it right on here. Plumbago auriculata. I believe that might be the one. Uh, I'll send you a photo on Blue Sky when and if we solve it. Uh, I can't get anything to. What about if I do this? I'm just going to try something and see if. Uh, just trying something here, folks. Nah, I'm going to have to work that out. I used to be able to show you what was on the other screen, but it doesn't. Oh, here we go. Well, we have solved it. Glenn's just told us. Uh, uh, Plumbago auriculata, which is a South African plant. Um, well done, Glenn. Now, I'll tell you why I didn't think about plumbago. It's because I don't think of plumbago so much as a climber. It's more a scrambler. Like a plumbago will happily form a mound on its own and it will scramble over other plants, but I don't think of it the same way I do as a vine, as a climber. Yeah. Weirdly, birds and insects don't seem attracted. Yeah. Plumbago, some insects use it as a food plant. Not many Australian insects, I don't think, but it is a food plant for some. Um, it's a good shelter plant for small birds. Uh, it's really popular in horticulture because it's really reliable. Very rarely will you get a spot from an semi-arid to a quite a cool, temperate location in southeast Australia and even up into you know subtropical uh, Australia, where the plumbago won't succeed. It's a very tough plant. available in blue and white and intergrades between. So pale blue does have those umbels of flowers. So yeah, and Odin's on the uh, right up on this. Was I going to say with those short tubular flowers that the plumbago has, uh, butterflies and moths are the chief pollinators, and I think in the Australian context, a lot of nocturnal pollination by moths. That light blue and white color spectrum is really attractive to um, butterflies and moths. Um, so yeah, um, I think it's a food plant for some butterfly uh, larvae, the caterpillars as well. So yeah, I remember when I was at Burnley and we had to study the landscape plant manual by the legendary James Hitchmore, and plumbago was in that, and it was a very highly utilized plant by landscape contractors and um, open space managers, park managers, because it was reliable and you could fill a lot of space with plumbagos. Um, but it's pretty out of fashion these days because it does not offer a lot for our birds. But Naomi says she's seen eastern spinebills feeding on it. I'm just going to ask Dr. Google. Um, let's see if we can find. Oh, well, I can't share the screen today, which is annoying. Um, let's see if there's any images. No. Oh no. Hang on. I'm getting. No, can't find a photo in the uh, can't find a photo of an eastern spinebill on a plumbago. Uh, Here's one on a gelsemian, which is interesting. Um, yeah, very interesting. Um, so yes, I've really got to sort this sharing the screen issue, don't I? With um, this version of OBS, I don't. I wonder if it's got anything to do with using the virtual camera. Uh, I'm going to disappear for a minute. There we are. I'm back. I wonder if that makes a difference. Um, just bear with me, folks. I'm just trying to see if I can That's weird. Looks like I'm going to have to do a whole lot of stuff to make sure it's to make sure I can do things the way I want. Anyway, sorry, folks. Um, trying to fix things on the fly. I managed to fix everything on the fly yesterday talking to Ricky, uh, but yeah, it's not going to work. So where are we? Questions, comments, any other topics you would like me to cover? And the other thing, while we're throwing open the floor, um, anyone you think you would like me to speak to interview? I am about to send out a pile of requests, so uh, yeah, that's something you can ask me, tell me. Will be good. Betty, since you are here, how's your garden growing? What are you having success with at the moment in Goulburn? Uh, what's that? Oh, I see what that is. Oh, Glenn, this is a good suggestion. It's on my list. Weed control. Um, it's such a large topic. Um, are there particular weeds that you have in mind? Because weed control is generally determined by the type of weed. Well, there's weed prevention, and then there is weed control, and then there is weed eradication. And they're all slightly different, and they all have different techniques. Uh, and the different techniques have different efficacy, and they also have different cost. Um, so, yeah, is there something in that you have in mind uh, there, Glenn? Certainly one of my favourite topics in horticulture. And weed control or weed eradication has the added benefit of giving you lots of material that you can use as compost and perhaps reuse in other ways too. So that's a really good that is a really good topic. So we will uh, see while I'm here, I'm going to write it in the book. I think I've written that in my homework book. All right, Stan. That's the kind of thing. Stan says he's got a horrible, huge clusters of invasive grasses with real thick stems. Don't want to use Roundup, but might have to. Okay, Stan, take some photos and send them to me on Blue Sky so that we can work out what they are. Now, Naomi has got uh, some of the absolute corkers. Um, here. Cape Ivy, Wandering Jew or Tradescantia, Privet, and what to replace it with, and Cotoneaster. Okay, Privet and Cotoneaster is slightly a little bit different. Wandering Jew is super hard, as is Cape Ivy. Um, just trying to think if I know anybody who has been able to control Cape Ivy without having to use a herbicide. And I'm not sure I know of any instances Oh, yes, I do. But that was a case where they the block of land, or it was a series of adjoining blocks of land, were completely overrun with Cape ivy and blackberries. And what they did was burned everything. So yeah, not ideal. But this is what they did: they burned everything, and then they came in with a small tractor and some uh, uh, small tine, small tine implement to uh, rip and turn over the soil, and then they left it fallow for a period of months so that the roots would regenerate whatever was left there, and they all came up again. They burned again. They ripped again, and then they applied a herbicide, uh, the Cape ivy, and uh, that worked. Wandering Jew is notoriously difficult, and I will do a spot of that. All right, Mirrorbush, Caprosma, Caprosma repens, huge weed in the area. Yeah, the only way to deal with Caprosma is to rip it out, and because of the shiny, waxy leaves, they are very difficult to control with um, herbicide, like herbicide application. Um, uh, the the berries, the seeding berries, they very prolific with the seed production. Um, so they need to be pulled while they're young. If they're established, they need to be cut and then herbicide applied directly to the stems. Um, yeah, Mirrorbush is really, really difficult. The same with bone seed. Very similar strategies have to be employed with them. Often the Mirrorbush are too big to pull, um, so then they need to be cut down and the stems brushed. But the bigger problem with Mirrorbush is when they are cut down, and if they've got fruits on them, those fruits get dispersed. So an area needs to be attacked over and over and over again. I've seen places where people have pulled Mirrorbush, cut Mirrorbush, and uh, treated the stems and killed the parents. And then they come in and they mulch heavily in an effort to suppress weeds. But as the organic mulch breaks down, the residual seeds in the soil or laying on the soil under the mulch uh, then germinate. So it's really, really difficult problem because they're a pioneer plant. They're one of those plants that are adapted to survive or take advantage of any disturbance in an area. So yeah, um, that's a good one. So what have we got? We've got privet, uh, cotoneaster. Um, what were the others? We had Cape ivy. Um, what was the other one? I've already forgotten. Uh, I've got to scroll back. Got to scroll back. What Wandering Jew. Uh, now, can we please? I'll just say, can we please not use the term, common name Wandering Jew for Tradescantia? And you may like to reflect on uh, the tropes about Jewish people and the habit the habits of Tradescantia, and you may understand why that common name for that plant came into being. And I would prefer if we didn't use it. I understand that no one is intending for it to be offensive, but uh, how that name was applied and why, and the weed potential of that plant and the difficulty of eradication may give you an idea of why in um, I reckon that name was probably applied in the 1800s, but that may give you an idea. So we'll go there. Betty is giving us an update on on her place. Uh, Gum trees 40, shocking, all different ones getting scale so bad. That comes and goes in different years, Betty. Some varieties of eucalypts are very susceptible to scale. I've given up now on planting any more. Well, that's probably a reasonable idea. But Betty, if you want to send me a message, direct message on Facebook or something, and tell me which eucalypts you planted that are being attacked by scale, I might be able to give you some options for you to think about succession planting, that you can plant some more resistant uh, uh, species that uh, might be better. But yeah, if you want to, that just do that. Banks is going really well, maybe 40, but extremely very slow to flower. Some taken 8 years. Yeah, that can happen, especially from seed. That's why a lot of people seek out cutting grown plants. There's benefits, and for cutting grown plants, there are um, benefits for seed grown plants, particularly in genetic diversity. Still planting heaps every few weeks. This week was more Banksias going in, had a few more big proteas, 2 meters high, 2 meters wide, go totally black. Well, uh, that happens. That's sooty mold. I think you're describing. A lot of Proteaceae plants are susceptible to that, especially after high rainfall events, high humidity, and if you've got any drainage issues, you can have sooty mold. Big problem in some years, except the top 12 inches. Okay, and the top 12 inches will be the new growth, will be the fresh growth. So the sooty mold uh, uh, takes hold on the older bark, outside bark. Yep. We have over 100 yellow-tailed black cockies come feed on the Banksias. There we go. That's what happens when you plant them, and they will come. So what have we got? We're going back. Odin's talking about the um, uh, Odin's talking about the Coprosma seed in the ground. Yeah, the seed bank, weed seed bank, uh, uh, is massive. Some of seed, the residual seed bank can last for 20, 30 years. I remember when I was doing um, land care work, we often thought about 7 years was a good average for what your weed bank would be. So your mulching strategy had to be long term, but some are much longer than that. Now, what's going on here? Uh, okay, not sure of the name. I'll search it out. Small ground covering weed, reddish small leaves covered in tiny pink flowers, one central root. Ah, yes, I think I know the one you mean. We can certainly talk about that Um, Watsonia, another really bad one here. Now, Watsonia's got the orange flowers, a bulbiferous plant that sort of looks like an iris. Have I got the right one there, Odin? Um, Really, really, really difficult because when you pull them out, uh, they have little bulbils. That's how they propagate themselves. They have little bulbils attached to really thin roots, and when you pull the plant out, lots of little bulbils are left. The same strategy that onion weed uses. Uh, so yes, that would be a good one. Watsonia and Crocosmia, they're they're two really bad ones. I have got the right one. It's got the orangey flower. Uh, Sort of looks like an iris, or in um, Naomi's making a point. Yeah, usually call it trad, but wasn't sure you'd know what it was. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Uh, Now, bridal creeper, um, another one of those common names uh, that I hate because it's bridal creeper and bridal vine get supplied to different plants. So let's. I'll just say. I wish I could share my screen. Um, okay. Bridal creeper. Yes. Now it's a very common uh, coastal weed. Now, is it what we often called? No, it's a different one to the asparagus vine. Come on, tell me. Sorry, folks, I'm looking over. Oh, thanks, Odin. Yes, I thought the Watsonia was a yellow flower, and Crocosmia is very, very similar. Okay. Oh no, the bridal creeper is the asparagus asparagoides. So, bridal creeper has two sort of stages in life. Again, another South African plant, shiny leaves that make it very, very difficult to uh, control with herbicides because the leaves repel the herbicides. Um, uh, Creates a barrier so the plant doesn't actually ingest uh, or infuse most of the poison. African daisy, yeah, we can talk about that. I mean, um, African daisy, the weed, the seed bank is the major issue with African daisy. Um, direct direct contact herbicide, I think, when the before flowering, and mechanical intervention, cutting off flowers before seed set, is a strategy you need to go there. I'm just going to see what the council says here. Um, Yeah, bridal creeper grows from fibrous root which have storage tubers, and these must be dug out. The above ground portion of the plant can be cut and left to die. Um, this should be done before it fruits. That's it. Timing, weed control, and timing is. Uh, that's why weed control is really hard. You've got to do it at the right time, or else you miss another year. Um, Roots must be dug out and disposed of carefully. So that's the other thing with uh, weed prevention and weed eradication is it's one thing to dig the stuff out of your garden, but if you're then going to put it in, this is what people do around here. They leave in around the street, on other people's nature strips, and in the park, and on just the side of the road, people leave the weeds that they have dug out. I'm sure cheapo landscapers are doing this. They dig out weeds from one place and then they leave them on the nature strip somewhere else. And then someone drives at 100k an hour, hits the plastic thing, the bag, spreads the crap everywhere, and then all of a sudden you got an infestation elsewhere. So you have a real um, obligation, if you are someone who cares about biodiversity, to not do that kind of stuff. Um, the thing with the bridal creeper, the Asparagus asparagoides, is there are much better native plants to use. So, Ballardieras, as you mentioned earlier on, Odin, are a great alternative. Glycines as well. The Canedias, the native clematis. Uh, so many good options. Um, yeah, so there we are. Um, Prickly pear, Naomi says. Prickly pear is another one of those where people will be careless with dumping, eradicating what they remove. It's pretty much got to be dug out. Got to be dug out, and then uh, burning and composting are really the only options. You can compost by chopping it up to get quicker composting, but then that has to be properly composted before anything is spread around. Again, if they have fruited, the dispersal by birds, and I'm pretty sure there's probably some bats that feed on the fruits. The dispersal can be huge. Um, we've cleared tons of three-toed jacks. This is down in the Mallee, I'm assuming, Naomi. Now, three-toed jacks. Now, see, here's another reason why we hate common names. Because I think in Melbourne we would call three-toed jacks. I think we would call them bindi I think. See, I can't even find three-toed jacks listed in Google. But I think I would call them bindi. Uh, Odin says, when I worked for Landcare, we filled a 6x4 trailer with dumped agapanthus. Yeah, agapanthus. I find that a lot around here. Starting to find a lot of, like, people chop up old yuccas and the really spiky leaves. But if you have a pieces of yucca stem anywhere where there's a node, the base of the leaves, those things can come back for the dead. So people are always dumping those kind of things. I just can't relate to those landscapers, or they're probably gyms mowing. I don't want to use the brand, but mowing maintenance guys who are doing things really on the cheap. So many people who aren't horticulturists and aren't trained and don't have the plant knowledge are out there doing this kind of stuff now. I know people have got to make a buck, but gee, think long and hard about who you hire. So, yeah. Any other suggestions? I think what we're going to have to do, I think we're going to have to cover weeds in a couple of episodes, or maybe we'll just go for epic long episodes that I can then chop up. I'll have to do a lot of pre-prep for these, I think. So we'll do that. What did we have apart from weed control? We got blue flower, three corner jacks. Yeah, yeah. Bindies are what we call them down here. Um, uh, Now, I wanted to ask you all too, while we're here, is there another flower colour that you would like uh, uh, to discuss? The other thing I want to do is scented plants and sort of how to use them. Um, that was really uh, the my idea there. A lot of people can tell you what scented plants, um, and by scented I mean perfumey, smelly plants. Um, so often you'll get suggestions of what plants smell like, but not really having any idea how to use them. So if you're interested in that, that's one I've got on my list. Um, but any other color palettes you would uh, uh, like to explore, or any other problems that we've uh, we've got out there that you would like me to cover. Um, when I work out why this thing, uh, okay, Naomi says white flowers, and I like the grevillea that has green flowers. Have you found that grevillea? That's Grevillea shirishii. I'm assuming you were thinking about, Naomi, which has greeny blue flowers. So they're green, but with a hint of a beautiful metallic blue. Uh, I'm assuming that's the one you're talking about. Uh, yeah, white flowers. I will be doing something with white, uh, and also because many white flowers are also perfumed. Um, I think my favourite white flowered perfume plant is the Grevillea leucopterus, which throws a very long flower spike and has a white flower head, and it smells. And I'll tell you what, the moths love it, but so do all the uh, nectar feeding bird. But the moths come and visit it at night. So that's one of my favourites. That we'll definitely be talking about that. Um, it's a long time since we talked about uh, just about climbers. I think it's a long time since I talked about climbers that are good for habitat. So I'm just going to put that on the list. Uh, um, Now Odin has a favourite here. Uh, Eucalyptus citriodora is one of the best smells in existence. I totally agree. I totally agree. And Naomi says, you're right about the Grevillea species. No, I haven't sourced it yet. Hang on a second, Naomi. I might be about to do you a deal because I didn't look. Um, I just saw that it has the common name of the blue spider flower. Uh, um, I'm just seeing if I can find someone I know. Uh, so I know this is really interesting. Really interesting watching me type onto another screen. Uh, Come on. I'm not sure I'm going to be lucky. This is someone I know that who used to have some. I'm just seeing if no, that's a bit of a shame. They do have some Grevillea leucopterus seed, so I'll get hold of that. But no, um, Grevillea shiracei, unfortunately, no. Um, I'll keep looking to see if I can get some material and grow some for us to share around. That is a shame. That is a shame. Um, Now, did I pop this up? Grevillea Eucalyptus citriodora is one of the best smells in existence. I really like the Eucalyptus citriodora, and indeed many of the Eucalyptus maculata. Again, if uh, particularly if they're planted in a copse, like a group close together, and after rain, when you get that beautiful eucalyptus smell emanating from the leaves. Also, in the evening, nighttime, you can get that. You can get that sense, that beautiful smell. Um, uh, so, any takers for climbers? Oh my God! Look at that. We got to 2 minutes and 2 hours, and uh, didn't even really have anything prepared. That's pretty wild. Um, So I think I'll tell you what I'm thinking. I'm thinking we'll do blue flowers, and then uh, I'll get onto some weed control and um, try and break it down because we got on. Unless we want to do a 4 hour stream on a Saturday, I don't think anyone wants to do that. Um, and we'll look at the different um, the I just want to make it really applicable to those of you who pop in uh, to the live show regularly. So why don't we tackle it this way? Let me know. Give me a thumbs up or a yes or something in the comments if you think this is a good way to tackle it. Why don't you tell me? And I don't mean in the comments now. I mean maybe send me an email with weed in the header, or you can send me a direct message on Blue Sky, just saying weed, and tell me the weed that you need some help with, uh, with control or eradication. Um, so Odin, so I don't forget, you could do that and tell me the Caprosma, Caprosma repens, uh, New Zealand plant too, by the way, the mirror bush. Um, so you just send it to grant@thebirdemergency.com or direct message me or put a comment in the YouTube. Oh, thanks, Odin, too. I noticed your comments. I think I've replied to those that you obviously working through the back catalogue. Um, 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 so yeah, that's the ways I would like you to let me know. Uh, Comment on YouTube, direct message on Blue Sky, or an email to grant at thebirdemergency.com with weed in the subject line. Betty, too, you can always send me a direct message. I don't know if you've moved into Blue Sky or not, um, but I don't spend much time in or on Facebook. Uh, but if you want to tell me what your eucalypts are that you're having the problem with the scale, and perhaps even attach a photo or two of what's happening, and actually that's open to anyone. If you've got disease issues or whatever, you can email me some pictures, grant at thebirdemergency.com. But in the subject line, make sure you put what it is about, because I get so much junk that I'm pretty judicious about what I open and what I read. Um, my spam filters are pretty tight. So, yeah, we can do that. And also ideas, if you've got ideas for what we should be talking about or what, do that. And if you're from overseas, um, you can do the same. I am a horticulturist. I can problem solve. So we can we can do that. All right. Anything else, folks, before we wrap up? I'm having coffee withdrawals, or actually cup of tea withdrawals, I think, this morning. Um, Let me know. Oh, and what are you doing today? You doing any gardening, or are you hiding from the rain? Looks like the rain stopped here, so uh, I might be able to do my little bit of propagating outside. Um, Tick tock, tick tock. Um, I love whoever is watching on Twitch. You always go the distance. It's very, very cool. Very, very cool. Um, um, oh, and also the Discord is coming along. Uh, there's a lot. There's a lot to do. There's a lot to do. So I am getting there. Um, I'll let you know when it's more functional. Uh, I'm going to go for a walk down to the mangroves of Pioneer Bay. Um, Now, what's the mangrove species down there? Avicennia? Is that right? That's my memory. The Avicennia is the mangrove in South Gippsland and Western Port. Um, oh, good. Everyone's got the. Thanks, Odin. It's all, look, gardening. This is the best gardening talkback that there is. Stuff the ABC gardening talkback. I think our gardening talkback is better than everyone going. I've got a Daphne, and it was going well for 3 years, and then it just died. Or my gardenias have sooty mold. Uh, that's what I remember about Gardening Talkback. And I used to listen religiously to Gardening Talkback, both in Melbourne and in Gippsland. I'm attacking the wisteria today. It's going a bit out of control. Thanks for the show. That gives me an idea. Who thinks they know how to properly prune? Like if you are attacking a plant like a wisteria, old woody stems and needing a tidy up. Does anyone think they know how to properly prune? Stan, uh, Grant, and the squad, the Riot Squad. Thank you, Stan. I loved. I'm glad I decided to do this. I love habitat gardening on a Saturday morning. Um, doing very little this weekend, but some gardening will be involved. See you on Blue Sky. Yeah, do please. If you post those pictures, make sure you tag me so that I can see um, what that grass is. I want to be sure that your problem grass is not something like a Garnia or a Restio, which are natives, but both of them can become quite invasive in some spaces. And if it's a Restio, you want to dig it up and move it. Ideal for fringing a pond, the Restio. Garnia can be difficult because they're like a saw sedge. They're not. Uh, they have serrations along the leaves, and you can cut yourself just walking past some of the species. But they are important plants for uh, uh, some native critters, insects as well as birds as well. Uh, Naomi says, I don't know how to prune most things, but wisteria is tough as nails. I've tried to remove it, it just comes back. Yeah. Um, uh, Wisteria is really difficult to manage, but your best friend is a sharp pruning saw, and uh, yeah, I'll give you a hint with wisteria. If it's a very old wisteria, so you've got very big knobby trunk, and I'm assuming you've got a single stem up to a big knob, and then you've got everything coming back. You can prune back. Take about 30% of of all the stems, cut them off at the big woody knob, and then section them to clear them out. So it's really like untangling a bit of a knot. Um, and once you've done that, you can then start to prune back. If you need to control it from the exterior, you can then work back. But one of the things with wisteria that people neglect to do is actually thin it out, like reduce the bulk of the older mature stems. Um, Now you will take a hit um, of flowers in the first year, but it will recover quite quickly. Um, yeah, perhaps I can give you some off off air advice about that, Naomi. Wisteria um, is a difficult one. If it is old and the stems are old and woody, make sure you've got a good sharp pruning saw, uh, and attack it with that rather than loppers. You'll find it's easier on your arms and probably your temper if you use a sharp, pruning saw, clean and sharp. That's the hint for maintaining a pruning saw. Of course, you need to maintain loppers, need to be maintained sharp and well oiled. So that would be good. Okay. So you cut it to the ground. So I'm assuming that the wisteria, then, if you are cutting to the ground, it's not one of the really old ones with a big stem that has been pollarded up at the top, and then all the flowering material is just coming from one big stem. You've got an old root that is throwing up new stems at ground level. Have I got that situation right, Naomi? Um, because the best way to remove that may be to actually uh, dig around the the old root, and I'm assuming that it will be old because wisteria is a old fashioned plant that was really popular, 80, 150 years ago. Uh, Everyone was doing them in sort of traditional. English style gardens. Every farmhouse had one for the veranda. Um, excavating around and finding the big woody. There should be a big woody root. Uh, uh, okay, so you're not getting rid of it. Yeah. See, because they are so big, um, yeah, birds do use them as shelter. So yeah, just trimming it. So you're just trimming from the outside. If you want it gone, it will be hard work, and you'll have to dig that big root out, that big woody root. Otherwise, it's going to take gallons of herbicide, which I don't recommend. Um, if it's not by a building, um, so if it's not next to your veranda or a shed or a pergola or a um, uh, or any other structure, uh, I got rid of one once in a uh, in a paddock where there used to be a house. There used to be an old house paddock, but the house was gone, and this wisteria just kept coming up, and it was causing problems when people were slashing and stuff. I just built a fire over the top of it and contained it with some old iron around it. It's like, so basically made a fire pit, built a fire on it, and then put a couple of bags of heat beads on it so that it burnt for like 12 hours and yeah, that got rid of it. Um, Not ideal if it's next to your front patio, but that's one strategy. I didn't want to use herbicide, and I didn't have the heavy machinery to make digging it out a quick job. So this was a set and forget job that I could do in autumn, as the ground around was fairly moist, so we didn't have any fire danger. Um, so yeah. Anyway, there's an idea. You can get creative with your techniques as long as they're safe. Um, all right. Well, I think. Here we go. Haha. Naomi says that's the shame of it. Right beside the house, I have to pull it from the eaves if I'm not watching it. Yeah. Uh, yeah. I think the best way to manage it is when the flowering has finished, just go back as far as you can and take out uh, about 30% of the leaders of the branches, so that you'll still get flowers the next year, but that you just reduce the bulk of it, because wisterias will actually pull verandas, pergolas, arbors. They'll pull them down. They get super heavy, and people don't notice it year to year. Uh, and and you can, as long as you make the cut so that you cut one of those stems, horizontal stems, you can leave it there until it dies, and then you can section it later on and just pull those sections out if you want to make the labor less intensive. But making those cuts to separate the stems from the trunk um, is, or from the major boughs, is a good way to go. Just wait until the uh, wait until the flowers have finished, because we all enjoy lovely uh, the lovely fragrance. Um, oh, sorry, folks. I'm just looking. Um, Somebody has. I think they're replying to me on Twitter or on X. about habitat gardening. Uh, Now, I don't think some bloke is anyone who's been in the chat. If you're here, some bloke, let us know. Thank you very much. It's a video. I'm resharing it on Twitter. I don't. I bookmarked it. I'll get back to that. Gee, that's 5 years of planting. That. Sorry, I'm looking at something you can't all see. There we are. Someone sent me this nice little video of the result after 5 years of planting at their place. I I'll try and share that on Blue Sky. Can I? Let's see. I can copy the link. Okay. Let me just see. You're all following me on Blue Sky, aren't you? I'm going to post it with absolutely no with no explanation whatsoever. There we are. So it's up there. You can have a look at the video if you would like on Blue Sky. I just posted it, and oh, there we are. There we are, Stan. So I've just got Stan's plumbago in there. That's great. Fabo. All right. So if you would like to see that video, I will engage with some bloke on X and encourage them over to Blue Sky. Have I taken care of every question and comment? I think, yes, I think I have. Oh, no, hang on. Is there another one? Last call. Any other questions or comments? Betty, do make sure you reach out and I'll see if I can offer you a solution, potential solution to your eucalyptus problem, your scale problem. You know what you need? If you've got scale on your eucalypts, you need a colony of bell miners. That's what you need. That'd sort it out. All right, folks. Geez, 2.5 hours just about. Wow, oh, wow. Always great. Had a great time this morning talking. Imagine that. Look at all the ground we covered. Remember, here's the last plug. Go and subscribe on YouTube. Thebirdemergency.com/YouTube will take you straight there. Get into the archive. I know Odin's been doing that. And leaving comments, which is terrific because then I know what you're interested in. You can always give me suggestions of what you would like me to follow up or chase down or whatnot. I'm about to go through a whole lot more emailing this weekend to drum up some guests. So if there's someone that you want me to speak to, especially if it's someone that I said I would contact and that I may not have done or they may not have replied, just remind me and we'll do that again. And I'll try and fix this issue why I can't share the screen. It's very annoying. It doesn't even see the screens at the moment. So God only knows what's going on. Cool. Thanks for all the comments. You know I love it. We'll see you next week. Same. Oh, hang on. Here we are. This is a good one. Well, aren't bell miners bad for trees? Well, that's an open question, isn't it? I think they can affect the vigor of trees. Uh, Maybe it's not bell miners that that we need. Maybe it's pardalotes. I'm going to leave that one out in the ether and chase it up because you know what we've done. You know what we've done. We've committed that sin where Betty has described something with a common name, calling it scale, and I'm assuming that it is lerp, and it may not be. So uh, I thought they ate the sugar and protected the lerps from other insectivores. Yes, yes, that is what they do. They stop other birds, pretty much other honey eaters coming in, and also pardalotes coming in and eating the lerp. But if they're coming into an area brand new, they might eat everything which is causing the problem. If it is indeed lerp that is the problem that uh, Betty has, but without seeing affected leaves and whatnot, uh, the general term scale is often used when we talk about eucalypts when it is not in fact lerp scale. So, yeah, we need further investigation on that. Uh, and you're right, Naomi. At first flush, people would think, "Aren't bell miners bad for trees?" And no, not if everything is in balance. Because if all the trees were dying, then the bell miners would have to move to somewhere else, wouldn't they? So, or maybe that's why they've turned up at Odin's. Maybe they've killed everything. No, um, but you are correct. They do maintain their lerp farms very aggressively. But I'm not sure I would say that they are bad for trees. Um, but if everything gets out of balance, um, I would say yes. Uh, okay, that's it, folks. Same time next Saturday morning, 9:30 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time, Melbourne and Sydney time, right here on YouTube, also on Twitch, and for the time being on uh, YouTube as well. Um, cool bananas. Enjoy your weekend. See ya. I'm Grant. I'm a bird nerd. This has been Habitat Gardening on the Bird Emergency. Hooroo!